guys, and welcome to another video of Hoodstick. Before we get into the title of the video, my car history, I wanted to give a big shout to last week's winner, Black Lions. So because his tag name is Black Lions, we're going to pick a black one. It's got a nice glitter effect. I believe it's a space galaxy sort of effect on it. I'm going to go straight to Black Lions. If you like, subscribe, leave a comment. I will pin the comment. That's how you know you won. And then DM me your information email like how Black Lions did, and I'll post it off to your address. There's a lime green one, a yellow one, military green, and a purple one. Bodie Prince is the person who's helped create all this merch for Hoodstick, for the key rings. If you want to get some of these made yourself, hit out Bodie Prince, so stay tuned, you might win. This week's winner is Birmingham Racing, so he's going to receive keyring. Also, I know I haven't been uploading any videos for the past 7 days, so basically last weekend we made crazy content. I went to Birmingham Forza, I went to Nottingham Forza, did a slave cylinder, master cylinder and the Skyline, and we reviewed Ardham's Mitsubishi Colt. We basically had like 5-6 videos to upload this week, and the hard drive just gave up, and basically we just couldn't get the content out. We sent it off to a hard drive specialist. They quoted over £500, and I just thought, 5 videos for £500, is it worth getting those out? I didn't say yes, but I just thought maybe in the future I'll keep the hard drive if I ever do have the money. Thank you very much for watching. Like the video, and I really appreciate everybody's support. I'll start off with the first car I ever bought was a 1999 red Nissan Almera 1.4 petrol. I bought that for around £200 on my neighbour, a Swedish neighbour. We had to go back to Sweden, and he was selling it for I think it was £180 if I remember correctly, with a full tank of petrol. I remember buying it before I had a driving license, like 16 when I bought it. I was a student working Subway, just trying to save up money. However I can, whatever I could, I tried to get a job and just save up money. All that money was going to go towards cars. Honestly, that was like the biggest golden dream. Growing up, I had an older brother that would always go, I don't want to say street racing, but it was just a car link up, Lando Street, BP, all over Birmingham. Kind of like gave me the inspiration and motivation to get into cars. Then it just drove me to take the driving test. Got the insurance, it was crazy amount. Back then we were paying like £2,000 just for insurance. I remember the first time I was on the road, I literally drove all day. Petrol prices were quite cheap back then. I was giving it everywhere. Like, it had no ABS, I think it had power steering. Not many basic safety features, but you can really feel the car when you drove it. It was only 1.4 litre twin cam injection, so it had a bit of power, and it was amazing. Couldn't believe how happy I was driving on the road. And then eventually I borrowed that car to my brother when somebody hit into the back of him. Because the car valuation was very low, the insurance just wrote it off as a Cat B. So we got paid out £500. Then we kept the car and scrapped it for another additional £150, and in the end we got 650 quid for the car. So we bought it for 180. We probably made over £400 profit. I mean, I didn't intend to make profit because I loved that car so much, and there was no issues with it, and all it was just a 1.4 litre petrol engine. I serviced the car myself, changing the oil and doing the service spark plugs. It's pretty easy to work on, so I just thought, just buy another one. That's exactly what I did. I bought another one, a lime green colour 1.4 Nissan Almera petrol. That one I actually started to get an exhaust on it, got some rims, started to like do some mods on it, wherever I could, whatever money I had. I was in college at this time. I was also going to work with it. Paid about £350. Eventually somebody hit into the side of me, and the car became a write-up instantly, and I couldn't believe it. It was the second car within the same year or so. My first 2 cars were 2 Cat Ps. I got paid out about just over £700, so made about £300-400 profit on that. After that, my dad had a 2004 Honda Civic 1.6 VTEC Auto. He was selling it at the time, and I thought, go on, I'll buy it off him because it's been looked after. And that was my first ever VTEC experience in an auto. It was such a nice car. It had a cream leather interior. It was navy blue. It had like an executive kit on it, so it looked decent, a bit sporty. Now I'm at university, so I'm driving that to university and back. My gosh, the VTEC in that, it's crazy. With every car that you get, first time you drive it, it's always a quick car, and then you get used to it, skid it around the bends, and then it just becomes normal. Then after that point, I sold that car, made at least about £600. Every car I bought so far, I've made profit on all of them, and my intention was not to make profit. Fourth car, it all started to change a bit more now, and it was a Toyota Celica, and that was, I bought it as it is. It was a military green. It was a 1.9 VVTi. Back then, 140 brake or anything near 200 brake horsepower was really quick. That car car, it taught me a lot. He had 6 gears, he had a sunroof, leather interior, and he had bucket seats. And that's when I started to like go B-road, because I was in university and I had spare time. When you have spare time in break times, whatever, you just go for a drive, and that's exactly what I did. I was testing the car out. It was amazing. I'd say I learned so much. The car was like a go-kart. It was amazing. I've raced everything in that car, and I remember having that over a year. That's the longest we almost had a car, to be honest. I remember buying that for £750. I think I made a loss on that, but the reason being because somebody actually hit into the back of me. The Celica needed a lot of work. I put it up for the market for around 500-600 quid, and it just sold within a few hours. I bought a first BMW now, BMW E36 318 Coupe, and that was such a nice car. When I first started to respect German cars, because it was one of the most comfortable cars I've ever been in. Leather interior, rear-wheel drive as well, and it was an amazing car to drive. It was only a 1.8 litre, but it still had around 143 brake horsepower. From then on, it just went straight into the drift scene. I thought, wow, rear-wheel drive, it's just so much fun in a rear-wheel drive car. I remember that car, I paid around £300. I paid for that. I sold it for over £1,500 because somebody wanted the seats in it, and he said the seats are M Sport and they're worth £1,000, and I didn't even know at the time. And I bought it from an elderly gentleman that didn't know. I think that was the fifth car. And then when that went, like I said, rear-wheel drive car, rear-wheel drive, the drifting scene was big. And this is where I bought my first proper JDM car, and it was a Nissan 200 SX S13. That car was absolutely amazing. It was white, it had a carbon fibre bonnet, carbon fibre boot, it had a full exhaust, it had a tune on it, T28 turbo. I think it was running almost 300 brake horsepower. I remember like it was one of the best cars I ever had, and if I could get one, I'd get one again. It had the CA18 engines, 1.8 turbo, it had a welded diff, it had coilovers. I didn't know how to drift it, but with this one, it was so easy to spin out and hold the drift, and in car parks, I was doing figures of 8. That's probably my first time I ever went on a drag strip. Shakespeare Raceway, it's closed down now, but Shakespeare Raceway was the nearest one in the West Midlands that everyone was going to. And 300 brake horsepower, I think we got the closest time was 14 seconds, low 14s, tried to break to 13s, but couldn't get traction in a street tyres rear-wheel drive car. Yeah, that's my first time I met Eric. I think at that time he was probably in his early 60s, so he had the Skyline, and I was like, wow man, he's selling that, I'd love to buy that. And obviously there's a video, if you guys ain't seen it yet, waited 12 years to buy that Skyline, which we've got now. It was 12 years later. It's true, it's not a lie, true story. I think that's when it ticked for me that we really need to get a Skyline. When I was in secondary school, it was all about Skylines. Honestly, I used to see them drive past, be the best sounding car. One of my biggest dream and goal was to have a high-powered Skyline, and Eric made it happen when he sold his Skyline to me. I currently live in that dream. It come to a point where I had that for about 2 years, and I couldn't keep it because the insurance was probably around £3,000-4,000 at the time. I couldn't afford it, and I would love to have kept it, but I couldn't. I bought that for £1,500. Yep, an S13 fully modified for £1,500, and after 2 years later I sold it for £3,500, and I drove it for 2 years solid. It was reliable, it had no problems with it. I sold that, I saved up more money. I was buying, selling some cars as well. I don't remember what cars they were, but I was always buying, selling something to save up money. And I was working in dessert shops, I was working as a coffee barista. It was tough back then, but you'd get your hands in whatever you can to try and save up money. After that point, I bought a Nissan 200 SX S14 Zenki. I remember buying it from an elderly lady up in Leicester, and I remember I went to see the car, and it was a £2,500. It was advertised for. Like, I couldn't believe it. I kind of always knew like JDM cars were always gonna go up. Ever since I sold mine for like £2,000 profit, I just thought, you know what, they're gonna shoot up. I seen the car, it had a bit of rust, and it was 80,000 on the clock, or was it 79,000? I can't remember. And so I made the offer. It was low mileage. She wanted to sell it, and I made the offer of £2,000. And honestly, I couldn't believe it. I was now an owner of an S14 200 SX. It's probably one of my dream cars when I was young. I think I was 20 years old or 21 when I had it. What a car that was. Black leather interior. It was stock, so it drove amazing. It was comfortable, and when you put your foot down, the car would shake. I started driving this side to the sex for the first time. You go that way. There to second gear. We've still got that S14, and we are going to be getting it out soon on the channel. My friend had a tuned 120D. I think it was pushing about 220 brake horsepower, and we raced on the highway. only second, third gear, it was edging on. It was such a fun car, doing donuts in the rain. It was very good on the rain. I don't know whether it's an LSD from stock or it's an open diff, but it drifted really well. Stock suspensions, the whole car was stock, and it was so easy to drift in. We spoke about the S13, we spoke about the S14, which we currently still have, but it's parked up. It's been probably about 6-7 years now it's been parked up. It hasn't been on the road since. We parked the S14 up, and I didn't want to drift that, so I went for an E36 328, and it was like painted military green. It had a welded diff, that's all that mattered. The wheel drive car, around 200 brake should do the job. So I went with the Celica to do a part exchange. The guy was selling it was 600 quid. In the end, I just ended up just buying it and not doing a part ex. Took the E36 back home. First night I got it, I was trying to drift in a roundabout, and honestly, the S13, S14 was easy, but the E36 was solid. No handbrake, and it was on stock suspensions, so the car was like going left and right, and that's the reason why it was so hard to drift. And I'll be honest, I was absolute noob. I didn't know how to drift. Like I said, the same night I got it, I was trying to drift all night. Blew up the clutch. And we got a tow truck back to a garage, and we got a brand new clutch fitted, and that's when I decided to try to spend more time trying to learn how to drift. To be able to learn how to drift, honestly, you've really got to book a track day or a drift day or a proper drift pen where you really got to learn and break the fear, because in the car park or in a roundabout you're always going to drift right hand, but you're never going to learn the left hand. That's when you learn a transition to drift right to left and not like lose control. And so that's what I really wanted to learn, and that's when I went and booked my first ever drift day at Birmingham Wheels.
Let's do this!
I did not know how to drift properly. I mean, don't get me wrong, stock suspensions, no handbrake. I was just literally trying to just clutch kick as much as I can and trying to just get the back end to swing out and just hold it. Just bit the basics. It wasn't easy. It took me a couple of turns to go on, and then eventually I got the lock. I got the sideways hold constantly, 360. I was able to hold the drift, and then I started to like transition to figures of 8. I got too overconfident. The people, they were saying, oh, you got this in the bag, just take it to the main track. And I took it there. First couple of laps, I literally span it across the wall, and that was it. I think on the same day, I was still so happy. We tried to bend the metal back straight around the arches. I went back on the track again. I think the radiator was leaking, so then we just decided to pack it in. Got a tow truck back home, parked it on my neighbour's driveway, and the E36 just sat there. RIP. We did manage to fix it. Did get a second-hand radiator, tow bar, support frame, back straight again, and it was good to go again. But then I kind of just got really busy with life. I just put put drifting on a hold. And also with the E36, because it's a convertible, you can't really drift convertible E36s because the body is a bit more heavier and the valves are a lot more solid because it's a convertible. Because I remember I was drifting in the E36 in a roundabout, it just went bang, and I thought I hit something, but on the back seats in a rare convertible, two metal things spring up and it broke the roof. It smashed through the plastic windows. It thought the car was going to topple over, but it didn't. But if it did, them two safety metal things that come up from the back seat would have protected the car from going flat so my head gets crushed. It'll just roll over. I wouldn't recommend drifting in a convertible car. In the end, I did manage to buy another E36 328 low mileage. Like this E36, bought it for, again, from an old elderly lady down south, brought it back. I think we bought that for about £850. We had it for a couple of months, did daily it for a bit, but didn't want to drift it, didn't want to wreck it, didn't want to modify it, because it was just too good of a car. And eventually I ended up selling that for £2,500. Then I sold the E36. Somebody made a good offer on the crashed E36. They offered me more than what I paid for, so because obviously the prices were shooting up, so I just sold it anyway, and I wasn't really using it. I had no car park space. That's probably one of the issues growing up, renting out garages, £40–50 a month. You just have to bite the bullet and sell the cars and just wait until you have space and land. After that point, I just decided to get something more reliable, cheaper, and just put a hold on the drift scene. So we bought a Honda Type S, and that's a 2-litre K20 A3 engine, 160 brake horsepower stock, 5-door, would you believe it? And I was just dailying that for a bit. Still a good car, still powerful, still keeping up with some of the cars out there. People didn't know back then that was still a 160 brake, and it had a decent torque on the Type S, similar to Type R's. Done me well, that did, for about a year. And so then that Type S, we did buy it for 1,000, and then we sold it for more than 1,000. I think like 1,200, 1,300. At that point, I don't remember what cars we're having, but I remember I bought a Ford Focus to buy and sell, bought a Vauxhall Corsa, a newer one, just to see what it's like. I do feel like the Ford Focus, Vauxhall Corsas, and those type of cars, they were so popular in the UK where you could just buy them and just flip them really quick. And then when I saved up enough money, insurance prices were slightly decreasing, then we decided to just dive back into the fast car scene. And then this was it now. I can't remember what year it was. I think it was 2017. I had a dream car. As well as the Skyline, it was an Evo. And then that's when there was an Evo on the market. It was going for a cheap price, about 9,500. And it was up in Scotland, in Inverness. I spoke to the person, I said, I'll catch a plane, single ticket, I'll meet you in Inverness airport. So we bought tickets. I thought, this is it. I'm gonna get an Evo. Evo 8, single ticket. So if this car wasn't gonna be done, we were gonna be stranded. But we got there in a car park, we seen the Evo, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. But it wasn't all happy times, because there was a lot of rust, and to be honest, this is probably one of my blunders that I made. Buying a car up north, beware of rust. And so the Evo 8, we got there, we seen it, we dropped the price from 9,000 to about 7,500, I believe. We just dropped the price considerably. I can't remember how much we bought it for in the end, but it was a lot cheaper than what it was. We got the car, we got a nearby hotel, and we just literally just stayed the night, and then we set off the next morning, drove all the way back to the West Midlands, and it did without any issues. And I couldn't believe it. I thought we weren't gonna make it. Look at that beautiful view. That Evo was a blast. I remember playing Gran Turismo before we had this Evo, because I thought, you know what, I'm going to envision it, because one day we are going to get an Evo. This is the actual car I've always wanted, the Mitsubishi Evo. And it actually happened, and here it is on the driveway. Nikhil, give you some. Dump valve back in the days used to be a thing. Like, people used to love the sound of dump valves. Now it's changing to pops and bangs. But dump valves, Bailey dump valve, HKS dump valve, we used to hear the noise, psh, used to be like, whoa. This Evo had a loud dump valve. Like I said, it had a lot of rust issues, but mechanically the car sounded really good. Raced against my mate's Mark 7.5 GTI, and that was running about 230, 240 brake, and it gave a good run. That was DSG. I think we were slowly leaving the car after that second, third gear, but it was interesting to see an old car versus a modern car. car was nothing but fun. Also, one of my friends had the Evo 7 as well. We did a few races to see if there was a difference between the Evo 7 and the Evo 8. And because the FQs have a 6-speed and the Evo 7 FQs have a 5-speed, it seems like the 6-speed was a lot quicker than the Evo 5 when changing the gears. Like it just rev up a bit faster. Then I mean they got a lot of compliment, but they're still doing damage. They are B-road monsters, and I feel like to this day it's one of my most favorite cars and the most, I'd say, best car I've ever driven compared to all the cars I've experienced. I remember taking it to Wales, having some B-road times, took it to Evo Triangle. Amazing car to take. I've done a few donuts in the grass with that car. We just parked that car away because there's a few issues with the Evo and we just never had the time. Parked it up, put it in the garage, and then that's when I kind of like thought, why don't we get into buying, selling auction cars, damaged cars, salvage cars? That's when I looked at Copart. I couldn't believe how cheap cars were going back then. This is before YouTubers were buying salvage cars and fixing them. I remember we bought 2 Subaru Imprezas from Copart, first ever cars. So people were thinking like, well, you bought too many damaged cars, what are you doing? They were going for cheap. I wouldn't believe the 2 Subaru Imprezas that we bought a Pro Drive. They're only 300 ever made, and they were going for like £6,000 to £10,000, and we bought them for like £3,500. It's like 70% off the value of the car on the net, so it's like a steal at that price. And I remember buying them both and got them repaired at a garage, and they were amazing cars. At one point we were dealing the Subaru Impreza. I didn't know what to choose. Was Subaru better than the Evo? In terms of dailying, hands down, the Subaru was better, and that's when I started to learn more about salvage cars, damaged cars. Can you buy them cheaper, fix them and modify, and just we were buying Mini Cooper S, bought that, fixed it, sold it, we made profit. The 2 Subaru Imprezas, we ended up selling those in the end. Obviously we bought for 3.5, spent about £1,000 fixing it. We sold one for around 6,500, and the other one we sold for Sora. And then the Mini Cooper S, we made a couple of £100, about £500-600. A BMW E46, BMW 318. We were just buying so many salvage cars, and there's a video which I made about 2-3 months ago where we brought over 30 plus cars. We basically got a yard to rent, and then that's when we just filled up the yard as much cars as we can because of how cheap they were. This was in the middle of lockdown, and that's when the prices of cars in the salvage auction just started shooting up. Everybody was buying them. There's money to be made, and also not just money, but you can buy your dream car. For example, I've always wanted a V8. I've always wanted an Audi S4, S5 V8 engine. They were going for like £10,000. We managed to pick one up for around 3,000. So it was possible to get a car that you always wanted, regardless if it's a damaged car or bumper. You just replace the bumper or do a paint job on it, and you got yourself the car that you've always wanted, because you don't want to pay £15,000. You can buy a damaged one, and you've got the car that you've always wanted. So it was achievable, and I think a lot of people will start to clock on that. Before the 30 cars, we had the Evo and the 2 Subaru Imprezas. Eric is selling his Skyline. He put it up on the web, and I seen it, and I go to him. It's me, like in the S13, S14. I said that I wanted to buy that Skyline, and he said he was never selling it, and he was selling it 5 years later. There's a video about it, and I said I want to buy it. And the same day in the night, went to his house, seen the car, bought the car, drove the car back home, and that was history on the Skyline. And we had that since. And then that's when we bought 30 salvage cars. I was trying to learn how to fix cars. I'm not a mechanic. I've never done any mechanical work, but ever since we've been buying damaged salvage cars, I've been trying to learn how to fix cars, trying to learn how to paint cars, the simple bolt off, bumper on, little things like that, and exhaust, and I even bought a welder to learn how to weld exhaust. And it's all by YouTube. I was just learning videos off YouTube, not a mechanic, learning it as I go along, and asking around and read the comments and the forums, and it just helps so much. in the long run, like, I feel like I've saved a lot of money fixing cars than taking them to the garage. The garages are always there if you can't do a job yourself. One of my biggest goal and biggest dream is to be able to restore a car from scratch, bare metal, to a show car or a modified car without taking the car to a garage for people to do it. We'll get there eventually, but we have to go through the experience of buying cheap cars and just trying to work our way up that way. Whilst we had those cars as well, there was also a Mark III Supra. I was doing deliveries for my relative who had a shop. I remember doing deliveries, and I did a delivery at this house, and he had a Mark III Supra, red colour, and I said, are you saying that? And he was like, make me an offer. It's sad to see an iconic JDM car like rotting away. And he said to me, you can have it for about 300, I think it's £380. And I said, yeah, I'll take it. I couldn't believe it. And I bought that Mark III Supra. I mean, it does need a bit of work. The paintwork, it needs redoing, and I think there's a bit of rust in that car, and it's never had an MOT for a couple of years. So yeah, so we got that, done an oil change, done a bit of paint correction. I managed to start the car up because it has been started for a couple of years. Drives amazing. Just got it parked up now. I am planning to get it onto the channel eventually when we do have time, because at the moment the plan is to just sell at least 20 cars that we've got in the yard, so that we can have at least 10 good cars that we're going to keep for the channel, build them at a high performance, and just have a variety of them, up to about 10. But right now 30 cars is just way too much, and I'll be honest, I put my hand up, I can't handle it. It's way too much. I thought I could do it, and I don't want to become a car hoarder. It's sad to see them cars parked up and not being used, and I really want to be able to drive them cars. So that's why the plan is to just sell half the cars and keep the other half that we're going to use and make content on them, which is the biggest goal again on YouTube. I don't think there's anything more to say in the car history. Just gotta get that Skyline fixed with the new clutch. We have ordered the clutch. It's gonna come next week. We have changed the master cylinder, slave cylinder. They weren't the issues. We are gonna be looking to change that next weekend. And we're also gonna get a Toyota Sora back out on the road. A few cars to work on, to sell, to make space and time to work on the cars that we need. So that's gonna be happening in the next couple of videos. Like I said at the start of the video, thank you very much for watching, you fellow Hoodstigs. Look after your family, look after yourself, and I'll see you guys in the next video. May the Almighty bless each and every one of you. Peace.